Morning. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Fire Commissioners. Date is Tuesday, September 16th, and it's about 9:10 in the morning. Roll call.
Ibarra.
Here.
Glazier.
Here.
Fazio.
Here.
Hara.
Here.
Woods Gray.
Here.
Fire Chief Terrazas.
Here.
Assistant City Attorney Carlos de la Guerra.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Black flute and Memorandum Staff. Okay, so first item is Commissioner comment.
I wanted to thank Captain Moore and whoever else put on the 9/11 ceremony at Frank this last couple weeks ago. I thought it was really, really well orchestrated. It's the third one that I've been a participant in. Captain, thank you for putting us in the shade. We appreciate that. And it was just really well. It flowed really well. The Chief's comments were really eloquent. And I thought it was just really nicely done by the department. So thanks for all that put that together.
I had the pleasure of actually attending 3 of the memorial services, and they were all very well done and very moving, especially with the representation from the New York Fire Department. And again, the chief had very good comments, and then the mayor as well. I also had the opportunity to attend the press conference that the mayor had in regard to the fire that took the life of the brother-in-law of Jackie Robinson, and in that I learned that actually the smoke alarms now they have to have the 10-year battery as opposed to the 1-year battery that needs to keep being replaced. And actually, both the mayor and the chief had great comments as usual. And toward the end of the press conference, actually, we heard chirping from a fire alarm a smoke alarm that where the battery was running out, and so that was great because it was reinforced the fact that every fire station has fire alarms that they can distribute for free.
Mm-hmm. I guess I also attended and concur with the fellow commissioners' comments on the 9/11 memorial celebration service, not celebration. I was thinking of it as it's a great thing that we continue to do this because so many of us saw it happen that morning are not the people that we really need to educate, but the younger people who are coming behind us. And by us continuing to remember this, it puts it on their minds that we're always vulnerable, whereas before that we never really thought we were. But in the climate and that we live in this world today, we still stand the chances of something happening, and we need to all be aware of that. So I appreciate the department for going out and doing an outstanding job of helping us to remember the lives that were given that day and what the future could hold for us as well. So we always have to be prepared for who knows what might happen. And then I went out to San Pedro. That's a joke between us. I think I get on better by saying Pedro, right? Okay.
Pedro is a recognized term for the locals. Pedro.
I know. There's a discussion about that among us. Yeah. But I always look to the people from the area because they know how they want us to say it. But I went there to see the duck, the yellow duck. And then I found out on my second trip there that the fire station was right there at where the duck was. So I went and visited 112 also, and got to see that huge, a beautiful vessel that we have housed out there as one of the, I had not seen, that's something that I had not seen in the department. And it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of equipment. And the day I was there, also the president of a national standards group of some kind was there. It was on the day he was touring the city also. So I got to meet him and we had a conversation about Los Angeles, which was good. But I did enjoy meeting the people at 112 and seeing some of the equipment that I had not seen. And I promised him that I would come back. And the yellow duck was fantastic too. It just drew so many people to that area who I'm sure had not had a chance to see the fire station, because I noticed that as people saw the duck, then they walked over to the station, which was a good thing. So we have to find something else like the duck to put back in San Pedro so people can see the beauty of that area down there.
Maybe a giant inflatable fireboat, too.
Yeah, maybe so. Because the guy who did the duck is working on a rabbit. That won't work.
Do you have, no? Okay. So it's commissioner comments. Item 2 is the 2014-2015 election of officers. So item A is election of board president.
I'd like to nominate Delia Bada for president.
I'll second.
Thank you. Should we vote? So all A's.
Aye.
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 Great. Thank you.
She shouldn't be conducting the meeting, should she?
Oh, it's supposed to be? Sorry, did I screw that up? It only happens once a year, so.
And it's your first one.
Yeah, why don't we let the secretary conduct the election?
Nominations for the office of president are now open. Are there any nominations?
I would like to nominate Delia Bada as president.
And I'll
Commissioner-
second again.
Commissioner Ibarra is nominated. Is there a second for the nomination of Commissioner Ibarra? Commissioner Hara seconds. Are there any other nominations? Is there a motion to close the nominations for president?
So moved.
Second. If there are no further nominations, it is moved and seconded that the nominations be closed. Those in favor of closing nominations say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it by 5 votes, and a motion to close nominations for the office of president is carried. Commissioner Ibarra is the nominee for the office of president. Those in favor of electing Commissioner Ibarra as president of the board say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it by a number of 4, 1 silent, 5 votes, 4 votes.
You can vote on
I'll vote for myself.
Silent vote is a yes.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Ibarra is declared and elected to the office of president. Congratulations.
Thank you. So can I conduct the vice president?
Yes.
I can? Okay. So item 2B is the election of board vice president. Do I have any nominations?
I nominate Andrew Glazer.
I'll second.
Thank you. So all in favor? Aye. Aye. So it's 5-0. So Andrew Glazer is our vice president. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, so that's 2. So item 3 is report of the fire chief.
Thank you, Commissioner. It gives me a great pleasure to introduce some newly or about to be promoted chief officers to a higher rank. If I could have Chief Mathis please stand. He, effective Sunday, will be the Chief Deputy for Administrative Operations. I'm looking forward to working with Chief Mathis. I've worked with him many times throughout our careers, and I expect great things. So welcome aboard, Chief.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
The next person I'd like to introduce is our new Fire Marshal, Chief Vidovich. Chief Vidovich also on the 21st will take that position. He's the Assistant Fire Marshal right now. Him and I go way back. We're part of the San Pedro Mafia. We were inspectors together, so I know that he's got many great ideas, and we're going to see some of those ideas come to fruition very soon. Thank you, Chief.
Congratulations.
I want to also introduce Graham Everett. Graham, please stand. He's our new Chief of Staff, effective on the 21st as well. Him and I have we worked at multiple assignments together. I've seen him promote through the ranks, and every time he goes to a different rank, he never fails to surprise me with his work ethic, his professionalism, and his demeanor. He's a good man. Congratulations, Chief.
Congratulations.
Chief V, you're not leaving us. Chief, you in the room? He's going to FPB to help Chief Vidovich out, another San Pedro Mafia person.
Right.
And former Chief of Staff. He's going to continue to be a great asset. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, moving on to some of my activities. We didn't have, we had our last commission meeting was canceled, so we have a lot of things to report. We had in the 1 month period 23 different events. I won't talk about every one of them. I'll highlight the ones that were significant. The first one was August 19th. They had the honor to throw out the first pitch at a Dodger game. I'd never done that. And I hadn't thrown a baseball in about 20 years. As I was walking towards the mound, I was wishing I had practiced. A little bit of pressure there. But Ron Say said I should stay on the grass and throw it level. And then the active Dodger said, I got to go to the mound or they'll think I was a big sissy.
Oh, my.
So I went to the mound.
Oh.
And it turned out okay. It got there. So I was very happy with that outcome. But I don't ever want to do that again. CLO, never again. A few days after that, we had an event, a very special event at Fire Station 26, a Wounded Warrior event. The members of Fire Station 26 invited a wounded warrior from the previous year to come back and visit the fire station, and they gave a presentation. The mayor was there, I was there, Councilmember Wesson was there, had a nice dinner, catered dinner, and presented a plaque. And it was very moving and touching, a very nice ceremony that the members of Fire Station 26 took it upon themselves to make happen. August 28th, we had a UCLA press conference. My CLO team is pretty impressive with Peter Sanders and Cap Moore. This was a story of the individual, the county lifeguard, who actually went into cardiac arrest when we had that lightning strike. And the lifeguards on the beach partnered with our paramedics in that chain of survival and actually revived the person. He showed up at our press conference with his daughter, and it was very, very heartwarming, and it shows you how effective EMS can make a difference. Good job by the CLO. We had a lot of media presence. September 2nd, I partnered with UFLAC President Lima to give the opening remarks at Fireground Survival Training at Frank Hotchkiss Memorial Training Center. You know, the number one reason we're here is to protect lives and property. This number two reason is we keep our firefighters safe. And this Fireground Survival Training was excellent, and I was proud to be up there with President Lima. Thank you, President. While I was there, I also gave remarks at the Leadership Academy. September 3rd, we had the press conference out at Van Nuys Airport to announce the arrival of Super Scoopers and our Sky Crane. That's an annual press conference, and that was done with Chief Osby of County Fire. Very well attended. September 4th was the LAPD Medal of Valor Luncheon. Fire Foundation wants to do the same for us pretty soon. I was very impressed with how professional it was and how well attended it was. And it was an honor to be there and listen to all those amazing stories. September 6th, I attended the I Heart Wilmington Fair celebration at Banning Park in my old town of Wilmington. I had the pleasure of being there with Councilmember Buscaino and my old high school marching band, the Banning High School Marching Pilots. It was a fun day, and I got to see a lot of old people, friends I hadn't seen in years, including one of my old teachers. I'm still a teacher at high school. September 7th, I had the pleasure of being with Mayor Garcetti and Commissioner Ibarra in the East LA Parade, Independence Day Parade. That was a fun event. September 8th, we had the press conference with the mayor in Fire Station 34's district that Commissioner Hara mentioned, announcing our smoke alarm campaign. And it wasn't the kickoff. It was just an update and a further emphasis to highlight the issue. So far, year to date, we've had 20 residential fire fatalities. 16 of those had no working smoke alarms. So the mayor was able to join us out there, bring a lot of media attention to the issue. And like the commissioner said, we had the perfect timing. The neighbor across the street, we could hear the chirping. And we went across the street and replaced the smoke alarm. So that was a good event, well attended by the media. 9/11, as was said earlier, we had several events throughout the city. I started off the day at 27's. They have an annual event that they try to time so it coincides with the actual collision of the planes into the buildings. We ring the bells, we raise the flags. And it's a nice, smaller scale than the training facility, but a very nice event, and I encourage everybody to attend that next year. And then we had our big ceremony at Frank's Place, another great job by the CLO's office, where the mayor, myself, and Chief Beck spoke, and we had a keynote speaker from New York. Very touching and moving words were said by this gentleman who lost a son in the collapse of the buildings, who was a New York firefighter. September 13th, I attended the LAFD Fire Hogs annual barbecue. I'm now officially a fire hog. That means that I have a Harley Davidson, and they let me hang out with them on occasion. And very good group. They raise a lot of money for a lot of charitable causes. They do blood drives. Probably one of our most active social groups right now in the fire department. So I was very proud to join their club and to bring my Harley to their event. Sunday, September 14th, I went to the Crenshaw Christian Center worship service and fair. It was about preparedness, and it's a huge congregation. It's across from Fire Station 57. It's the old Pepperdine University facility. Very proactive organization in terms of community interaction, and their emphasis was about preparedness. In the hall next door to the facility where we had the services, there was vendors teaching us about smoke alarms, about preparedness kits, about natural gas safety, and water and power was there. We passed out 130 smoke alarms at that one event. We also scheduled several installations through MySafe LA. MySafe LA will go out and install these smoke alarms free of charge to whoever asks for it. The smoke alarms are free. The batteries are free. So I'm very excited about that partnership with MySafe LA. And on October 11th, we're going to partner with American Red Cross and hit multiple communities simultaneously, canvassing and making sure that people have smoke alarms as well as family escape plans. So that concludes my report. It was a busy month. It was good. I was inspired many times by our people in the community, and I look forward to further events such as these.
Just a quick question on the calendar. When is the annual Fallen Firefighter Memorial? Do you have a date for that yet, or is that still pending? It's October 11th? Okay, great, thanks.
Oh, okay, so item 3B is significant incidents and activities.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
It was a busy month for the department, and continues to be busy with the heat wave. On August 22nd, the department responded to what turned out to be a major emergency. Started out as a small grass fire in the Sepulveda Basin, but oppressive heat and a rapid rate of spread with the fire ultimately resulted in 29 fire companies. It was contained within the basin, but lots of work and good cooperation with the Rec and Parks and County Fire and LAPD in helping us to keep the public safe. Also on August 22nd, at about the same time, we had a two-vehicle traffic accident in the Granada Hills area. 5 RAs were ultimately utilized for 5 patients. Unfortunately, 2 of those individuals died as a result of the traffic accident. On August 28th at 6 p.m., department responded again to Venice Beach, where lifeguards had pulled a drowning victim from the ocean in cardiac arrest. CPR was initiated by the lifeguards. Again, firefighter paramedics treated and transported that patient, and the patient regained pulses at the time of the arrival at the hospital. So another great save for us, and good work, good collaboration with the lifeguards. On August 28th, the department also responded to a structure fire in the Tarzana area of the city. It was a 3-story apartment house with fire in one unit and the hallway. Interesting, Mitch Englander was patrolling that evening and showed up at the fire to assist us in traffic control, and we had an opportunity to walk him through the fire and explain the actions of the firefighters that night. Unfortunately, there was 2 civilian fatalities inside the involved unit. That was a major emergency with 10 fire companies, 16 fire companies, and 10 rescue ambulances. and Chief Ernst was our incident commander that evening. Also was one of the first day of our newly promoted Battalion Chief Al Valle. On the 30th, the Labor Day weekend, the department had really a collision of events. We had the USC football game, the event down here, the concert, the Made in America concert, our normal activity in Hollywood, in Venice, and plus it was a hot day. Over the 2 days, the department, working with event staff, saw 150 patients through the tents. The department ultimately ended up transporting 15 patients out of the Made in America event, but ultimately it turned out to be a very successful event. Folks were well behaved for the most part, and no serious injuries or deaths. This past weekend, unfortunately, we had a drowning in North Hollywood on Saturday. Department responded to a toddler that was reported missing and unfortunately was found pulseless at the bottom of a pool. It couldn't be seen because the water was murky. The firefighters performed a rescue, but unfortunately the toddler was deceased. Yesterday was our record transports. We transported 704 people to area hospitals with our rescue ambulances. So the heat wave is actually having quite an impact on lots of services, including power. Over the weekend, there was a number of conference calls, and the chief asked us to review the department's, or actually the city's emergency annex for heat. We've had discussions with EMD, with LAPD, just to make sure the city's in position to deal with the heat wave. So far, we've been lucky. We had a power outage in North Hollywood last night, but no serious repercussions as a result of the heat wave. And that concludes my report. Chief Castro's doing annual inspection today in North Hollywood, so wasn't available.
So what's the total death tally that we have for civilian casualties and fires?
Our number today is 20.
20.
We did have one additional fire death, but it wasn't in a dwelling. It was a homeless individual that we think may be a criminal nexus.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Do we also have a report by the medical director?
I included.
Yeah. Okay.
I included both in
so that was
in the report.
1 and 2. Thanks. Number 4 is presentations. We don't have any this week, right? Number 5 is consent agenda items. Do you guys have any specific questions about any of the items? If you don't, then we can just take them up together.
Yeah. Move consent items 5A through F for their various actions. Adopt the recommendations for items 5A through F.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So those will be moved to their recommended actions. 6A is a report by the department on the status and disposition of LAFD matters considered and report to council committees and departments.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning. Chief Terrazas, Carlos, Leticia. Assistant Chief Ronnie Villanueva, Chief of Staff. City Council and Committee Activity Report from August 25th through September 5th is actually in your packet. So if you don't have any questions on any of those items, I had actually reported on that last commission. And then the newest that we have here, the only item is from September 8th through September 12th on a special City Council meeting on the 12th. We had a communication from LAFD relative to the resolution authority of 3 positions. That had to do with the AC position, a senior storekeeper, and a fire captain 1. Those were approved and adopted by council and moved forward. I will let Chief Terrazas give the news to the new appointed assistant chief. But that is all that I have in that report.
Thank you, Chief. We got that approved on Friday, and we promoted Chief Wade White to assistant chief at our shops. That was held up. It was a 90-day freeze, and I met with the various council people. The number 2 position will be civilian, and the only change was that the previous proposal was that the number 1 person was civilian, the number 2 person would be sworn. We just inverted it. Chief White's been there for a long time, and he's that's his niche. He's very good at logistics, and I think it's a good fit. So the department benefited from this change, and he will be promoted effective the 21st as well.
Okay. And can we count on Chief White staying there for at least 5 years?
Yes, we can.
That's a good move, Chief. Chief White's been outstanding, I think, at the shops, and they have that stabilizing influence is going to be terrific for the department. So kudos to you, and congratulations to Chief White. Good man.
Just briefly, I also want to recognize Chief Kelly, who I had a lot of really great interactions with, and I think he's a stand-up guy. So I look forward to seeing what he does next.
Yeah,
thanks.
He did a good job there, too.
So. Motion to receive and file item 6A.
Second.
So, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
6B is verbal update by the department relative to FireStat LA.
Good morning again, Commissioners.
Good morning.
As I updated last time, our FireStat meetings continue to progress, and because we're looking at the same basic 5 metrics, we're seeing lots of consistencies with issues being raised as we conduct the meetings. I think the greatest value has been putting the data in front of our people so they actually get to see it for the first time, and also Chief Castro and I sharing the department's vision on where we're going in terms of metrics and measurements and how they can make our department more effective. We are preparing a schedule that'll look at the next iteration of FireStat. It may be a bit different with our reorganization. We are working on that. We'll bring that to the FireStat Steering Committee. Validation for the open data and the mayor's forward-facing website has been completed. We do expect a report from the consultant in the very near future, which would provide for that data and those reports to actually be posted to the city's website. So we're excited about that. We're still looking, as I reported last time, to look at 3 staff assignments, and we are working on the metrics for those 3 staff assignments, and those were the Fire Prevention Bureau, Supply and Maintenance Division, and then Metro Fire Communications. So we're looking forward to those. We think they'll be exciting, and that concludes my FireStat update.
So, I think we're making great progress with FireStat, and I think the entire department should really be recognized for embracing what I think is a great process. In one of the recent ones that I was at, it seemed like one of the common issues that came up is around answerbacks, and it was frequently cited by a lot of the captains that I saw standing up there, saying that running to go get the answerbacks impacted turnout time. So perhaps I'd be interested for us to actually study that issue further, and if in fact we need the answerbacks, then let's look at moving them so they're more convenient. If we don't need the answerbacks, then I would say let's make a department policy that we don't have to hit the answerback. If there's 10 seconds being lost, and I've certainly been in the field and been given a tour of the station where the answerback is, you gotta retrace your steps to hit the answerback and then to get out the apparatus. So if I could just make the request that be an official study that we're looking at, and the answer on do we need the answerbacks? And I know there are technologies coming, but they're probably a few years away. If we could pick up 10 seconds by not hitting the answerback now, and we don't need it, then let's do that. But so if I could just make the request that sometime in the next couple months we actually just get an answer on do our folks in the field, do they have to hit the answerback? Are there hours during which it makes a difference or not? I would love to hear the answer to that, and then have us move on that, because that's time.
It's at the top of the list of action items for us because it really is unnecessary. We're measuring, and the dispatch center gets notified. We're actually moving by the en route button that we push on the apparatus. The one connection that we're studying is that it does ensure the lights shut off in the station at night, but that's something I think we could overcome very simply.
Motion sensors or something.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, and I think that's if it's something we could do and it resulted in a change of policy, I just feel like it's an opportunity for us to say, look, this is a really tangible result. It resulted a tangible piece of information resulted in a change to the way we do business here that had a benefit to everybody. And I think the more that we can get, the more we prove that concept, the more it's a virtuous cycle. So thank you for your continued work on it. I look forward to hearing conclusively what our plan is around that in the future. Thanks.
Agreed.
Oh, just one more question. So when do we think it's going to go public or be posted to the mayor's public facing?
It's basically ready to go, so I think the mayor's office would be in a position to look at the final report from the consultant and then decide on a posting date, but it should be imminent.
Oh, so within a month probably.
I think certainly within a month.
Okay, thank you. 6C is report by the department on the Hazardous Material Emergency Preparedness Grant.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Assistant Chief John Vidovich, Assistant Fire Marshal. The report before you is prepared by our risk manager, who's currently on vacation in Poland. However, it is to accept grant dollars for the purpose of revising our area plan. The area plan concept was first put in place in 1999. Since then, there have only been incremental changes to the plan. The plan, by statutory requirements, is required to be updated every 3 years. The last time the plan was updated was in 2009. The goal is to hire a consultant to do this plan, and the 20% match of the grant would be accommodated with the use of staff. The key components of this preparedness document and the revisions recommended by staff will be to update the hazardous materials disclosure program to the state, add the required pesticide drift protocols, update the LAFD response protocols and training, revisions to updates the city, county, and state federal response plans, and qualitative commodity flows for crude oil. These are all being done currently in the surrounding region, and it'll make us more contemporary and relevant in this area. Any questions?
So it's just to accept a grant, basically, right?
That is correct.
Fine.
Yep. Move to receive and approve the report and recommendations. Item 6C.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So 6E is report by the department on the firefighter. Oh no, sorry.
The EMS. 6C.
Sorry, it's verbal update by the department relative to the emergency medical services.
Commissioners, I prepared a briefing on EMS deployment models and basically limited it to California because there's really a million ways in which EMS is provided, including none. And there really is no statutory requirement for a jurisdiction to provide EMS. But if a jurisdiction chooses to provide it, then they have to follow the rules of both the state and in our case, the county local EMS agency, which acts on behalf of the state. The Los Angeles County EMS agency has guided pre-hospital care in the county for about 30 years now. The agency derives its authority from state law and the EMS Act and is accountable to state EMS authority. There's a variety of service models. There's a variety of service models even within our own region. Many of which were the result of just historical deployment, the way they were when laws were created surrounding the provision of EMS. They are also developed by community desire, political will, and obviously budget. There's two basic levels in our area of skill level. The first is EMT. EMTs are really distinguished by the ability to provide an assessment, vitals, splint, broken bones, spinal immobilization, and performance with the AED, the automatic external defibrillator. Paramedics are distinguished by drug therapy, They do review and interpret electrocardiogram, and they also have the ability to do advanced airway. In Los Angeles County, our rules are for paramedic ambulances. They are required to have 2 staffed certified paramedics. An assessment resource, which we have a couple of them, our bike medics, our gators are assessment resources, and they are required to have 1 paramedic and 1 EMT. We have BLS ambulances that are 2 EMTs, and BLS Fire Company would be all EMTs, and then we have an assessment fire company which has a paramedic and EMTs. That's the basic components of our system, and really everything from Santa Barbara to San Diego is some variation of that. And the variations are fire-based with sworn employees, 1 model, fire-based with civilian employees. There's combination systems that have each element, and then there's those systems that use the private ambulance providers. Within Los Angeles County, pre-hospital patient care is provided by cities like ours, a fire district, in this case Los Angeles County Fire Department, Ventura County Fire Department, Orange County Fire Department. The Sheriff's Department provides a niche element of EMS. They perform rescues in our mountains via aircraft, and private ambulance companies also provide EMS. Our system here in Los Angeles County is provided by 31 fire departments and the sheriff. Fire-based sworn, similar to our system. Our cities in our area like Monrovia, South Pasadena, Burbank, San Diego would be examples of our system where they run a 2 paramedic fire-based sworn ambulance provider, plus they have variations of EMT engine companies and assessment fire companies. Fire-based civilian would be similar to a model like Glendale uses. Glendale has fire engines with paramedics, and Glendale hires back its own civilian ambulance operators to provide transport. Combination systems are systems like Long Beach and Pasadena, which use fire-based paramedics on engines, EMTs on engines, fire-based sworn paramedics on ambulances, and also for workload and to keep paramedics available, they hire civilian ambulance operators to run EMT ambulances. And lastly, the combination systems or the private ambulance systems like LA County that use paramedics deployed on either 2-person squads or engine companies and use private ambulances for transport. Those are the major variations that we see within our region. LA County is the model you're probably most familiar with that run 2-person squads and then a private ambulance. Orange County runs their paramedics on engines and on ambulances, but they use private ambulance as the transport mechanism. That concludes my report on the variations of EMS deployment, if you have any questions.
Does anyone run three-man rescues? Do we know?
I have not seen that, although in our system we put our new paramedics as the 3rd person. Yeah. I know there's other systems that use volunteers as the 3rd person, but as a standard deployment, I'm not aware of anybody that uses the three persons. 3 people, and I know this subject has come up before, and I haven't been resistant, but there's other, the NIST studies for EMS indicate there's about 14 to 16 simultaneous activities that need to take place at true emergencies, true emergency medical emergencies. The notion that 3 people would be able to perform those, maintain scene security, and help lift people from second floors, third floors down to awaiting transportation, I think that presents a problem for our folks, because oftentimes they're reluctant to call an additional resource once they're there, and nobody lives on the first floor, and they're all they can all be difficult to carry and transport to the rig, and we do see lots of back injuries from precisely these activities. So it is something we've looked at, but haven't moved past the review stage.
I think I had originally maybe been the impetus for the report you just gave. I'm not positive about that, but I had asked some questions as to whether or not we could be given sort of some insight as to what other ways we might experiment with or do some pilot programs around. We've heard internally from the organization that there's been other methods of deployment of paramedics or EMT workers. And I'm just thinking it's a big city with, a lot of moving parts. Maybe there could be an opportunity to, look at a couple different models, not necessarily privatization models as much as just the deployment of our own sworn personnel. So just to kind of back up a bit, because the chief wasn't here when I think I might have made that request. You did a good job outlining kind of all the different agencies, but I was wondering if we could get sort of an assessment as to something that we're seriously looking at or that keeps kind of bubbling up in our own agency as to, maybe some different ways we could look at this. I know we've tried some things too. There's been a fly car or something. I don't know. I hear the terms. I'm not sure that I have the correct terms or the. Yeah, I'll let the chief speak to a couple different models, and I'm just wondering if any of those might make sense for us to experiment with. Is kind of what the impetus is of the
fly car was a concept proposed by our medical director and basically would be an assessment resource without transport capability that could quickly get to emergencies and get the right resource responding. It hasn't moved past the conceptual stages. I will tell you there's a couple jurisdictions in our area that are finding success with the ambulance operator program. The cadets, basically lower paid level of employee. They're doing BLS work. They're using it as a recruitment tool. In Glendale's case, they're actually pulling 30% of those ambulance operators for each class. They get a chance to see them work, sort of in an internship sort of manner. They do get paid, and they are using that model successfully. There's some downsides to it. Like in Glendale's case, they got rid of all their fire-based ambulances. So the last large brush fire they had, actually all their paramedics were out of the city at a brush fire, which left that area to make up with move-ups. So there are some downsides to this, but I know both Pasadena and Long Beach have had some success with this ambulance operator program.
So, but you're talking about cadets. So
I call them cadets. Actually, their position is ambulance operator.
Okay, but they could be cadets that just so they don't have civil service protection. They just start off like it's like an interim job.
Yes, that's the way they're being used.
So you'd have an opportunity to assess them before they go on to.
That's one of the benefits of that program. They actually
before they become randomly selected as one of 10,000, which may or may not be selected.
Right. There was concern in those jurisdictions also about how those individuals would be treated, but I think they've overcome some of those obstacles. So that is one program that has been successful in our area.
That sounds interesting.
There are upsides and downsides to each of these deployment models.
Sure.
Today, if something were to occur here, you get two professional paramedics, experienced, go on lots of calls.
Right.
And
obviously, you wouldn't send them to a big emergency. Like you would send them to, because we respond to all kinds of things that some of which we know are minor.
You wouldn't. I didn't catch your.
Like you wouldn't send them to a big emergency. Right? Like in Glendale's case, the cadets. Yeah. Actually, they do. There's emergency medical and transport issues at
fires and other emergencies.
But if you had them on the if you had cadets on the 800s only, that's not going to change the level of service. And realistically, there's no way we would have enough cadets. We wouldn't staff every 800s ambulance with cadets, nor I don't think anybody here would be proposing getting rid of a paramedic staffed ambulance. But it would be interesting to explore the idea of having cadets on some of our 800s. I certainly,
or special, concerts or
whatever. But our members in our department, this is a constant source of conversation from our rank and file firefighters and captains. Every station I visit, the question always comes up of, is there a different way to staff the 800s? And some go so far as to suggest privatization, and I, politely push back that maybe that's not what we should be looking at right now. But many of them do ask about this ambulance operator or about just a way to give opportunities to our cadets. I think if it was something we were looking at, it is something we could look at our hiring process to say, if you are a cadet, you get preference in the hiring process. So, look, I think it's something worth examining further is the idea of giving our cadets an opportunity to serve in our firehouses. And, if we could get an official proposal in front of us that we could actually think about and have a public debate about, look, maybe it goes nowhere. But I think it's worth having a public debate about something that benefits us on a number of levels. One is it provides some relief to the field as far as particularly where we have real busy 800s, or maybe it allows us to augment our 800s with some more. It gives us an opportunity to try before we buy if we're talking about hiring folks on, and it's I think it's an opportunity to bring some diversity into our department through the cadet program. So I think it's worth just having a full conversation about.
I think there's an openness to it. That's what I'm hearing.
And as you say, there are pluses and minuses, but I think at this point where we leave it right now is, well, there's pluses and minuses, but we're not allowed as a commission to even evaluate the pluses and minuses to make a recommendation to say, here's what we think. And I think we deserve that opportunity. What do you guys think?
Well, why don't we just ask the department to come back and report on this specific thing, because you weren't supposed to do that on today.
Absolutely. I'm not suggesting you didn't do your work. I'm just suggesting that maybe a next step would be let's get a full report on that specific proposal of what would happen if we had a cadet program that allowed them to assist with our 800 ambulances. I'm interested to see what you know this place, you know how it works and what we need, and so I'm curious to know what you think could work, and then we can have an opportunity to evaluate that and talk about the pros and cons. Does that sound like a good idea?
And I think the word within the city government might be subplantation or contractually, and we're not looking to supplant, sworn firefighters' positions as much as to augment, within the scope of this discussion, is at least my one reporter's opinion on it.
The firefighters on the 800 ambulances, I agree. The firefighters on the 800 ambulances actually are part of our standing army for those days that we need all hands, and they can rotate between various positions to spell somebody that's been at a brush fire. They can do all firefighting work, rescue work. So I would agree. I'd be concerned if we were looking to supplant, but certainly as we move forward, it certainly is a viable option, and it does provide for that look before you buy.
And look, as a taxpayer and a resident of the city, what I'm looking for is ways to increase and improve services to me and the people that are around me when I have my medical emergency. So if that means if I can get better service for me and my family because we have additional cadets on the job who are able EMTs and we can do that cost effectively, I want that. Look, I think, again, I don't think anybody at this table is suggesting that we should be diminishing our services in some way. But if there's a cost-effective way to increase services faster, then why shouldn't we look at that?
It's worth looking at.
Yep.
I mean, nobody's committing to anything. We're just committing to looking at it.
I'm committing to talking.
Yeah, talking about it. So, thank you, Chief. We do have a public comment.
Can I ask one more question about this? Okay. EMS billing, with the advent of ACA and the increase in insured, I think it's worth us taking a second look at our ambulance billing ordinance. We do a lot of treatment with no transport. Again, this rose up through a visit in the field, talking to paramedics and a captain. An example of this is diabetic calls. They're in a diabetic sugar-induced coma, non-responsive. Our crews administer a D5W. Person wakes up, they're fine, they decline transport. We have administered a very valuable treatment, and we get no ability to bill for that. And many insurance companies will pay for that. I know some won't, but some will. And so I think the question would be, with the advent of ACA and the increase in the number of insured, I'd just be interested to hear from our billing department if that might change things so that we might change our ordinance to allow us to bill for those things, and if that would be an improvement in the billing or a decrease in the billing. You don't have to answer it now because it's not on the agenda, but I just want to get this out as a question and a request as a follow-up to this is I would really like to think about to look at our billing and see if perhaps we need to do some more analysis with the increase in insurance payers.
I have asked that question before, Commissioner, and I've been told that the work of our engine companies is actually built into our billing, but I'll let admin services answer the question.
Perhaps we could, I'm happy to follow with it offline, or perhaps we could get a full discussion later. I know we don't need to talk about it right now, so Carlos won't get mad at me.
And we do have a public comment from Mr. Frank Lima, President of UFAC.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners. Frank Lima, President of United Firefighters, and I didn't originally have a card on this, but a couple things were said that I'd like to respond to on the record. In regards to, hearing about how everybody else does it, hey, that's fine and dandy, but let me pose a question on everybody here, including my good friend Mario Rueda, whom our families grew up with on the east side. Your family got in an accident in Glendale? Would you rather call 911 in Glendale or the city of L.A.? How about the unincorporated part of L.A. County or Ventura County or Orange County with private ambulances? That's what I thought the answer was. I want to give a strong reminder here that the word privatization comes up. It's an absolute meet and confer issue, and the union will take a strong stance there. In regards to the cadet program, a reminder that I'm a cadet out of the community of Lincoln Heights, and nobody supports the cadet program more than United Firefighters of LA City. The problem is there's no incentive or reward for these kids from the community putting in their time. They don't get an extra point or two on the test like the military does, things like that. Mr. Glazer, you mentioned you don't want to diminish any services. Well, we already have. Let's address that first. Let's rebuild our fire department and then figure out a strategy and way to go. In regards to Glendale, yeah, they switched to ambulance operators in exchange for keeping their four-man engine companies. That was left out. They did not want to go to it, and it's not providing a better care of service. There's an opportunity to get cadets in firehouses, but what does that do with a random stratified sampling lotto system? Does nothing. You want relief in the field that you mentioned? Hire more firefighters. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're at 6E, which is the report by the Department on Firefighter Selection Process Conflict of Interest Protocol.
Good morning, President Ibarra, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Chief Terrazas. The independent assessor released a report dated July 28th, 2014. In that, they made a few recommendations to the department. One was creating a conflict of interest protocol. What we looked at were 4 parts of this recommendation, and that all employees involved in the selection and training of new recruits need to be aware of this protocol. We should be better in defining the family relationships and friendship relationships We needed to include a catch-all, which requires a member to acknowledge when they don't have that ability to perform. And also, we need to make sure that we clearly stated who they needed to report that conflict to. We did the protocol is a collaboration of Training and Support Bureau, which was led by Chief Rideout and Recruit Services, the Department Risk Manager, the command staff, and once we came up with a draft, we shared it with the independent assessor, and she was very accepting and willing to work with her, and we wanted to work with her. And we came out with this final draft, which we're bringing forward for you today to approve.
Quick question. If you can't, I think this is a great thing to have on paper. I'm pleased that we have something in writing. Thank you for all the work on it. Question is, if you can't find anybody who doesn't have a conflict for a candidate, what are you going to do?
I think with the number of members we have, we'll be able to resolve that.
Chief Terrazas' son is applying for a job in the fire department. Let's pretend he's not actually. Let's say he wants to become a firefighter in the next round. Everybody knows the chief. What are you going to do?
You have to ask that ethical question. Are they able to objectively rate that? I think that's something, and as we said, the person will self-select and as well as notify, so the department will weigh in. I think at that point we may, ask, weigh into the commissioner, weigh into someone else. Do we feel this person can objectively and fairly rate the chief's son without any bias?
So I would just suggest that you prepare for that possibility and think about what the alternative, who would be the alternative personnel for selection in that case. Maybe you ask somebody from Glendale or Long Beach or county to come over and evaluate. But think about it, because I think like I said, I think the policy's good. I think it's a step forward that we have it. But when you make policies like this, you have the sort of the weird situations pop up, and I'm just suggesting to be prepared for them, because a lot of people know a lot of people around here. So it's just my strong recommendation is you think through what your plan will be if you can't find anybody to evaluate a candidate.
Understood.
Chief, so the LAPD, they've got 10,000 members to our 300, or 3,000 rather. Sorry, Frank. I'm going to give him a palpitation there. I'm wondering, do they have a similar policy, or what goes on in the city family vis-a-vis, these kind of nepotism sort of policies? I agree with the notion that we should do something. I just don't want to make it so restrictive that we suddenly lose out on great potential future candidates as a result of the fact they have an acquaintance, even is what it is that's written on here in our department.
We could not find anything with the LAPD that they had.
Okay.
So what we did was basically kind of drag from other departments, taking a look at what other thing may have. I think the key here is that, again, it's the ability to remain fair and impartial,
right,
either negatively or positively.
Right.
Because you may have it in for somebody, and we wanted to make sure we captured both in this document.
Right.
And I think you really need to have to be able to look at that paragraph. And then again, they're going to let us know that they have this conflict. Yeah. Then it's the department has that opportunity. If they haven't self-selected themselves, then we have to look at that perception as well. And I think that kind of gives us the ability to find those ones that maybe I don't think we're going to run into the problem of running out of people, or like you're saying. I think we're going to be
right to recuse themselves, basically.
Yes.
So, and I would just want to remind you that when the independent assessor did her report to us, she did point out that there were no citywide policy about this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not surprised the LAPD doesn't have anything about this either.
Right.
So this is kind of uncharted territory. So thank you so much for putting some work into this. I do think that it's sort of a work in progress because nobody else is really thinking about this or doing this. And so that's a good question. We don't want to exclude good candidates. Mm-hmm. So we reserve the right to sort of tinker with this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If it doesn't work out, or if we find out that it's too restrictive, or that it's too or that it's not restrictive enough, maybe.
Yeah, our thing is to never do the candidate, or the rater, but they have to recognize, and that's been our problem. Someone maybe not recognizing that it is a conflict. Mm-hmm.
But also, I want to point out that this is just for department members who are participating in the firefighter selection process.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's not for everybody in the department.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Good point.
So But are we gonna have something that's more department-wide?
We are looking at that as well. That was further on down. There were some other recommendations as well that we're working on from the independent assessor's report.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that that's on our list too, about the department's response to the independent assessor's report, because I'm not sure it's in our list right now for, okay, thanks.
It is.
Can I say one more thing? I think there's a misperception in the field that this policy is intended to deter relatives of current serving firefighters from applying for the job. And I just want anybody who is listening right now, or anybody who knows somebody, that is absolutely not the intent. There is nothing. There are few professions more noble than the ones that our firefighters serve in, and it is absolutely a positive when a relative of a current serving member is inspired by that relative and wants to serve on the job. There is nothing to discourage them from serving. This is purely about ensuring that there is fairness in the selection process for those who are doing the selection. I definitely have heard from a number of folks in the field who are confused about this or misinterpreting the policy. So let's just be real clear that is what this is about. It has, relatives of firefighters are absolutely encouraged to apply to serve in our department. And we want them to be evaluated fairly, just as we want any candidate to be evaluated fairly in this process. So anything we can do to make sure that message gets out to the field and to the world at large, I think would be great.
So, and that goes both ways, like no unfair advantage and no unfair disadvantage as well.
I wanted to commend you for the beginning of this process, because my concern was that it would be too restrictive. That was really my concern when I read it. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't too restrictive. And this seems to be opening us. It's the kinds of things that we think people do automatically, except we have to put it in writing.
Yes.
So I'm glad to see that you have started that process, and I actually think it's a very good beginning. I'm happy that it's not restricting as I thought it might be, and because the things that are here are just common sense type things that people should be doing automatically anyway. So I thank you for putting it together.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioners, if I could add my comments, and this is an obligation to disclose by our members if there's a potential conflict. It's not meant to be a disincentive for family members to apply for the fire department. If my son were to choose to become an LAFD firefighter, he should not be held back by my position. We want the best and the brightest. So this is the first step to ensure that anybody who's a part of the process will inform the department, and then we'll review if there's a potential conflict and make the appropriate decisions moving forward to ensure that we get the best quality candidates.
Maybe, I don't know, it's just a thought, but maybe an opening paragraph stating with, all of what it is that we've said, in no way is this to be interpreted as a as a filter or whatever, as something that disincentivize members from the department to not want to continue to proceed in their career with the department, but rather this is just something where we need for those people to recuse themselves if they're, something, maybe a little preamble.
Maybe I'd put a cover document.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Yeah, just so we make sure everybody understands that's, what we're not trying to do.
That seems a good idea for the member-wide policy when you, for the department-wide policy when you develop that, since this is really just for the selection, people who are going to participate in the selection process.
Yeah.
So they might already, but no,
okay.
So that's a good idea.
Yeah, what I would do is, I guess, when I have them sign this, we should have a cover that exactly states that.
Yeah, we encourage the career path, whatever. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh wait, we have a public comment. Do you want to make one last comment? So public comment is from UFLAC President Frank Lima.
Madam President, Commissioners, good morning. Frank Lima, President of UFLAC. While we're here discussing potential nepotism in the fire department, we continue to have the most understaffed big city fire department in the country. After a net loss of nearly 600 firefighters in the past 5 years, we must strive to put public safety first and hire qualified first responders. UFLAC continues to insist on a fair and impartial process without lowering our standards. We need qualified men and women who can stand withstand the physical and emotional demands of our job. Nobody should receive preferential treatment in the application process either. We do not think that nepotism is a rapid problem in our department. If a family members of current LA City firefighters want to join the LAFD, they should be given the same opportunity as others and not be penalized for their families. Thanks for clarifying that. As president of UFLAC, it remains extremely frustrating that the media has made such an issue out of this proposed nepotism problem. While Rome's burning, the LAFD remains decimated and understaffed. Angelino fatalities are at an all-time record pace this year, but we're worried about having solar panels on the roof and pretty drought-resistant flowers in the garden. Honorable Commissioners, UFLAC will continue to say publicly we have bigger problems than nepotism. We have a major problem with understaffing in our fire department. We will continue to lose 130 more experienced firefighters this year at that rate, and we may not graduate any additional firefighters at the rate we're going at. We do not have the bodies that we need to adequately staff our fire department, period. We should have never canceled the June class from this year. We're falling even farther in the hole. What's that left us? It's left us a department in great perils right now. We agree with the independent assessor that there should be a protocol in place to avoid conflicts. Let's finally move forward with this real protocol and then do everything possible to address the real problem of our fire department, and that is understaffing. After you are finished talking about nepotism, we urge you to maybe call a special meeting to address the real problem of the fire department, how understaffed we are. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's 6E. Do I have motion?
Move to adopt the recommendation for item 6E.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So 6F is verbal update by the department relative to the smoke alarm campaign.
Commissioners, Chief Terrazas actually spent a few moments sharing the initiative, but on September 8th, the department participated in a press conference with the mayor and the chief, and it was attended by First Alert, MySafe LA, and the Red Cross. And it really was to announce the pilot program, our collaboration with the Red Cross, and the initiation of a task force as a result of Chief Terrazas' direction, and again, our collaboration with MySafe LA. The pilot program will involve a 3-month pilot of home inspections and smoke detector distribution in the Watts area. It'll be initiated on October 11th. Fire Station 65, the Watts area, was selected because it is one of our areas of high dwelling fire areas historically. It's also a fire station where we have 3 very motivated individuals that were interested in cooperating and pursuing a pilot. The station commanders will go out once each segment, once each 3 times they work to do this. In exchange, we're taking some of the regular fire prevention duties away, and really the pilot is to determine what obstacles we're going to potentially run into that are sort of unanticipated, because our intent is to really market this across multiple council areas and multiple neighborhoods where we see sort of the same conditions that the task force has already identified that are associated with fire-related deaths.
Which fire station was that again?
65. It's
108th and Central.
No, that's 64.
Oh, sorry.
65 is on Century, just east of Central.
If I could add a couple comments on this. I'm excited about this. This is a proactive action, not a reactive action. In the past, we've been triggered by a fatality or serious injury at a fire, and the question was always raised, what are we doing to get ahead of this? Well, the first element is about getting the message to the community using the media like we did with the press conference. And we went to the Crenshaw Christian Center where we had a captive audience of about 1,000 attendees. We were able to send that message as well. So this is innovative. It's cutting edge. We're going to try it for 90 days, debug it, and then rotate it throughout the city, a council district at a time. I'm excited about this. The partnership with First Alert. They're donating their 500 smoke alarms every month, and there's been a run on smoke alarms. That's a good problem to have. We're going to have to go back and ask for some more. Time will tell. We're measuring with metrics to see how successful we are, but this is something that no other fire department is doing, and we're proud to launch it here in LAFD.
Oh, thanks, Chief. We have a public comment from Mr. Frank Lima, President of UFOC.
Fire Chief, Madam President, Commissioners, Frank Lima with United Firefighters. Smoke detector campaign is a great thing. Can't go wrong. Smoke detectors do save lives. But while we're here discussing the status of the smoke alarm campaign, we continue to have the most understaffed fire department in the country. And if you want to save lives, a properly staffed fire department is the number one way to do it. Emphasis added, it's undisputed fact. You know, we applaud the department for doing this, but we also encourage them when you talk to the media, you know, let them know we're the Dodgers without a center fielder. We're playing with 8 people. We're giving up more extra base hits, but the 8 people on the field are working their tails off, doing the best they can. You know, let's turn all the cards up and be honest with the community while we're handing these out. Remind them that Truck 14 on South Central Avenue was closed. So we thank you for that, but there still remains a real problem, and that's getting our fire department staffed properly. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that's a verbal update. Actually, so now we move on to public comment, which is we have one from Frank Lima, President of UFOC.
Oh, I thought that was way to get to
I
that.
know, I should have told you.
Okay. Madam President, Commissioners, Fire Chief Frank Lima with United Firefighters. We've got a public comment period. And I just, first of all, wanted to congratulate Madam President Ibarra and Vice President Glazier on your re-election. Also, as a firefighter who's promoted through the ranks and one that served on the FEMA USAR California Task Force team in 2001 and was a member that got deployed to work at Ground Zero along with, you know, I know Deputy Chief Rueda, probably some others in this room, working there and witnessing the devastation and the pulverization of everything and doing body recovery, something that, you know, sticks with you forever. So I wanted to say thanks to the department, you know, Peter Saunders, Jamie Moore, publicly for setting up that memorial. And for the first time, including United Firefighters in the ceremony. I think it was a symbolic partnership that the fire chiefs getting out on, and it was much appreciated by over 3,000 firefighters. So thank you for setting that up. In regards, we just signed a recent letter of agreement in regards to making, after fires, we do overhauls. And it's just an unnecessary, essentially non-emergency time that's when firefighters get exposed and killed and diseases and long-term illnesses. So we're doing a pilot program to make our conditions safer for each other. So thank you for that, Chief, and just wanted to say congratulations to the commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. So that actually concludes our commission meeting today. Should I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we're adjourned.